Many of our ancestors lived through times of great upheaval. What can the practice of learning from our ancestors' experiences offer us right now? As we begin, we pause with gratitude to remember that the land where we gather has borne witness to thousands of years of Indigenous history, culture, and spirituality, and continues to do so. This provides a rich and fertile context for us as we gather in religious community here at Westwood. As people who are part of Treaty 6, we commit ourselves to the creation of an equitable, just, and compassionate relationship throughout our shared territory. Good morning and welcome to Westwood Unitarian Congregation. one of many Unitarian Universalist congregations across the continent and around the world. We are a community of individuals on unique spiritual journeys. We welcome all persons of goodwill, whatever their culture, color, class, religion, ability, gender, wealth, or the direction of their affections. My name is Rebecca Patterson. My preferred pronouns are she and her. And we share our pronouns so that those who choose pronouns besides he and she will know that they are welcome here and celebrated here. We are part of a group of 16 Unitarian Universalist congregations who are sharing resources to create an 8-part series of services. The series is called Meaning Making in Liminal Times. And this year's theme is Meeting This Moment with Love and Justice. And today's service is about learning from ancestors. Our sermon today is offered by the Reverend Lynn Harrison. Lynn currently provides guest preaching to congregations in the Toronto area and is an active singer-songwriter, providing music to the UU community. Our musician is Jacqueline Willette. Our tech team consists of Julie and Carl here in the building, and Bill is hosting on Zoom. Thank you so much to you. And David is our much appreciated coffee host. Thank you. To visitors and newcomers, we offer special greetings. We are honored that you found us. Whatever the reason for your coming, whatever you seek or bring, we welcome you to our community. I urge you to ask us questions after the service when we are having coffee and tea. And if you wish to please stay for, I guess we don't have anyone actually brand new in the building. So I invite you to sign the guest book at the back of the sanctuary. And if you wish online, you can contact Westwood, info@westwoodunitarian.ca, and ask to have the newsletter sent to you. And do join us again. The services will not be the same. Next week, in fact, we are returning to a 1960s feel. We're going to have a read-in for peace to commemorate Remembrance Day. These are the words for the chalice lighting, and they are by Lynn Harrison, our preacher for today. In the living tradition of Unitarian Universalism, we kindle this chalice for the flame of justice that guided our ancestors and lights our way forward. May we be grateful for the wisdom that arises anew as we gather together here and now, interconnected with one another and with all who have come before us. We're going to sing now. Our song is Return Again. We'll be singing the words of the first part twice, the second part twice, then we go back to the beginning and sing just once. I guess we're singing it twice. Let's not confuse ourselves. Okay. Return again, return again, return to the home of the soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to where you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. At this time in our service, we pause to reflect on our week. We recall the milestones, the joys, concerns, and sorrows, the changes in our lives, those who need our healing thoughts. Community is deepened by sharing with each other what is in our hearts. I invite you now to light candles of concern or celebration, and I'll come down with the microphone. Please hold the microphone close to your mouth at a 45-degree angle. I will light one last candle for all those joys and concerns that remain in our hearts. Would you please join me for the affirmation? May the light of these candles inspire us to use our power to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to serve the Spirit of truth in loving affection and trusting hope. Reverend Lynn has chosen a story for all ages for us to watch.
Be a Good Ancestor, written by Leona Prince and Gabriel Prince, illustrated by Carla Joseph. Be a good ancestor with water. Raindrops become puddles, puddles become streams, streams become rivers, rivers become life. Be a good ancestor with the land. Seeds become seedlings, seedlings become trees, trees become forests, forests become oxygen. Be a good ancestor with living things that fly. Eggs become hatchlings, hatchlings become fledglings, fledglings become eagles, eagles become iconic. Be a good ancestor with living things that swim. Eggs become elvins, elvins become fry, fry become sockeyes, sockeyes become nourishment. Be a good ancestor with living things that walk. Newborns become cubs, cubs become bears, young bears become grizzlies, grizzlies become ballads. Be a good ancestor with your neighbors. Neighbors become friends, friends become communities, communities become nations, nations become allies. Be a good ancestor with your thoughts. Thoughts become ideas, ideas become actions, actions become movements, movements become change. Be a good ancestor with your words. Words become expressions, expressions become stories, stories become narratives, narratives become truth. Be a good ancestor with your feelings. Feelings become compassion, compassion becomes understanding, understanding becomes beliefs, beliefs become values. Be a good ancestor with yourself. Children become adults, adults become leaders, leaders become elders, elders become ancestors.
Wasn't that lovely? What beautiful paintings. Oh my. Our offerings of money and volunteer service are the essential elements that sustain our congregation and this place of worship. Some donate on Sundays and others on a monthly basis. And we appreciate all the gifts of treasure, time, and talent. Let's sing the offertory song together. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. And now we're going to join together in song again, and I'll remember to invite you to stand as you are in spirit or in body to sing with us. We're singing from all the fret and fever of the day. And it's not as familiar. It was a hymn of the month a while ago. And I think that when you hear it, it will jog your memory. But we'll listen to a whole verse. From all the fret and fever of the day, let there be moments when we turn away, and deaf to all confusing outer din, intently listen for the voice within. In quietness and solitude we find the soundless wisdom of the deeper mind. With clear harmonious purpose let us then bring richer meaning to the world again.
I received an interesting gift from my parents, a carved wooden box with about 20 photographs inside. They were all black and white, or sepia, that particular shade of brown that signals to us modern folks that, hey, this is really old. It's important. It's valuable. It comes from long ago. I have the box here, and I'll show you some of the photographs. You can see the old-fashioned clothes and the formal poses. And in this set, there was an equal number of photos from my mother's side and my father's side. So there are pictures of my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and even in one case, a great-great-grandparent. These are my ancestors. When I was younger, the main thing that interested me about these photographs were the ones of my parents and grandparents. Could I recognize them as younger people? Beyond that, I was interested to know whether any of the people looked like me. Were there any family resemblances? This makes sense. Knowledge of our specific ancestors can help nurture our sense of personal identity. That's why it's so meaningful for many adoptees to find their biological parents, to trace back their roots through a genetic family line, and why events such as the 60s scoop, in which many Indigenous children were removed from their families, As well, of course, the abduction of people from Africa for the slave trade, why these historical events and so many others created such a legacy of pain and suffering. When I encountered my own family photographs as a young person, I was interested in the superficial aspects, which were meaningful. I felt I could learn something from these relatives simply by gazing at their pictures, and indeed I did write a song inspired by some of the images. But at the time, I wasn't ready to learn other deeper lessons, such as the fact that my family must have been very highly privileged to have such photographs taken in the first place, and much of that privilege must have come at the expense of other people who did not grow up with the advantages of being white in my family's homelands, which happened to be the American South. I come from a family that immigrated to Canada in the late 60s after many, many generations in the United States. When it comes to reflecting on ancestry, we might begin in ways that scratch the surface, often in ways that support our sense of personal identity. Yet when we go deeper, we can't help but discover the shadow sides of our heritage, the shade, if you will, under the family tree. I was delighted to discover in my own heritage several distant relatives who were also ministers, Baptist Christian ones. Also, there were a few poets in the mix. Needless to say, these similarities to my own life were a source of pride. But then again, the Baptist ministers were also missionaries dispatched to Mexico, where indigenous peoples already had their own sacred practices. And the poets? Well, one of them fought bravely in the U.S. Civil War, but on the Confederate side, that is, the one that wanted slavery to continue. My ancestors lived through times of great upheaval, quite different than the difficult times we're living through today. But when I think about their life stories, I gain insights I otherwise wouldn't have access to. For instance, some of my ancestors were people I would disagree with strongly if I met them today. They were fighting for the other side. Knowing that they are my ancestors, can I have more compassion today for people whom I believe are very unlike myself? Or this, when that same Confederate soldier was wounded in battle, he was taken in by a random family. After healing from his injuries, he eventually married one of the daughters. If he hadn't been sheltered by strangers in an act of kindness, I wouldn't be here today. When we look deeper at our ancestral heritage, no matter who we are or where we come from, we're bound to find tangled roots of cruelty and kindness, ignorance and wisdom, good fortune and bad luck, triumphs and failures. All of these weave together to provide us with greater insights, not only about us personally, but about the entire human condition. These insights can also lead us to seek our spiritual ancestors, people who were exemplars in love and justice, but who were not connected to us through our personal family line. Both ways of understanding ancestry are meaningful and valuable, and they can be at various points in our lives. In my training for ministry, one of the most interesting exercises I did was to create a genogram. Like a family tree, but more detailed, this map of ancestral history reveals significant traumas or stresses along the path of generations. Times when relationships were changed through separation or divorce, when mental illness or addictions may have entered the picture, when profound grief may have changed a life story. Identifying these meaningful points on the genogram, we can reflect on how our ancestors might have been affected as they coped with significant losses or as they went through major life changes, such as immigrating to another country. We can also wonder about how the generations that came after them were affected by these profound life events, often affected in ways that were not fully acknowledged, let alone healed. In his recent book, The Myth of Normal, Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture, Dr. Gabor Mate, with his son Daniel Mate, delve deeply into the impact of intergenerational trauma. They write that trauma is, in most cases, intergenerational, multi-generational. The chain of transmission goes from parent to child, stretching from the past into the future. We pass on to our offspring what we haven't resolved in ourselves. The home becomes a place where we unwittingly recreate scenarios reminiscent of those that wounded us when we were small. Keeping Dr. Mate's words in mind, we can see how the chain of unhealed trauma affects one successive generation after another. The photographs I received as a gift told one story of trauma in two pictures of my grandfather on my father's side. One picture taken before he went off to war, and the other one taken after he came back, clearly a changed man with a dark and haunted look in his eyes. Yes, he survived the war, a source of pride perhaps, and another reason why I'm here today. But he passed along the legacy of the trauma of war, one that is shared by millions upon millions of people in the world today. As Dr. Mate and many others make clear, if we don't recognize the impact of trauma, both on individual people and on groups, harmful behaviors will continue to arise as a result of fear and shame, guilt and resentment, and they will continue to shape the course of history. It's been said that in order to change something, we must become conscious of it, aware of it, and then action can come only after awareness and acceptance. So we can learn a great deal from what our ancestors lived through and the way they lived as a result, whether or not their lives were in all ways admirable. When we ourselves take what responsibility we can for our own healing and growth, we begin to change the pattern or break the cycle. This can create a legacy of hope and resilience that can be passed on from us, whether or not we have biological children of our own. So far in this talk, I've focused mostly on the teachings of ancestors in our immediate family lines, which may be the first way we think about our ancestral legacy. As I've said, this is valuable. It strengthens our sense of personal identity and life's meaning. We celebrate our genetic inheritances, and we value aspects of our family history, such as coming from a particular place, belonging to a particular group, or sharing particular outlooks or customs. As valuable as all of those are, they can also lead to a certain tribal way of thinking, an us and them way of seeing the world. As we reflect on the world today, we can find a tension of values as we both celebrate our individuality, yet try to widen our circle of care to include all others. When it comes to learning from our ancestors, both of these perspectives can be valuable. The immediate family tree, but also the vast forest of ancestors that extends far beyond our immediate knowing. As we zoom out beyond our personal circles and think of all the ancestors we've had, we begin to glimpse just how much ancestral wisdom we all carry with us. Just consider this. Every human being alive today shares what's called a most recent common ancestor. That is, someone from whom all currently living people must have descended. It's hard to pin down just how long ago that person lived, but research suggests that the most recent common ancestor may have lived only a few thousand years ago, which is much more recent than previously thought, perhaps about 100 generations back. That's a great grandparent times 10. It's mind-boggling to think of this, that your ancestor might also be the ancestor of the Dalai Lama and Taylor Swift and Donald Trump and the stranger that you met on the street today. It is really awe-inspiring when you think of it. Just this fact alone can teach us a great deal about the human condition. It can open us up to a greater feeling of kinship with all people. Indigenous peoples often speak of all my relations, which means not only all my human relatives, but also all the non-human beings whose wisdom is continually available to us. As Richard Wagamis wrote in his book Embers, one Ojibwe's Meditations, from our very first breath, we are in relationship. With that indrawn draft of air, we become joined to everything that ever was, is, and ever will be. When we exhale, we forge that relationship by virtue of the act of living. Our breath commingles with all breath, and we are a part of everything. With this in mind, we can open ourselves to so many ways of hearing our ancestors' voices. We can be guided by dreams, intuitions, synchronicities, forms of wisdom our ancestors relied on, but that we in our modern culture have often forgotten. It's also worth considering how the great ancestral figures of our collective memory often lived in times of great hardship. Indeed, it was how they responded to these hardships that made them teachers for many other generations. Siddhartha Gautama, for example, the founder of the Buddhist faith, lived at a time when there was widespread disease and poverty. Although he himself was born into luxury, it was his first-hand observation of suffering that prompted him to seek a new way of living. Similarly, Jesus of Nazareth lived at a time when most people had to share basic necessities. When taxation was high, people lived on very little, and women and the ill and disabled had few rights in the society. That spiritual leader responded to the needs of his time by critiquing the current system and pointing toward a universal love that includes all people. In our recent Unitarian and Universalist heritage, we think of spiritual ancestors such as Norbert and Maya Chapek, who created the flower communion service against the backdrop of the Second World War, affirming the resilience of the human spirit and the beauty and diversity that is central to the UU faith. Other people such as Martin Luther King Jr., Mohandas Gandhi, Viola Desmond, or Julian of Norwich may come to mind, along with recent people whose memory may be known and treasured only by a few, but whose influence is immeasurable nonetheless. When we consider figures such as these as our own spiritual ancestors, we can wonder, what is the unique contribution that I might make in this particular time and place and with the resources that I have? These days, as I enter my 60s and I'm becoming more aware of the brief human lifespan, I find deep lessons in the lives of those who have gone before, both in their living, but also in their dying. All of my ancestors came up to the threshold of death, which is so difficult for many human beings to contemplate, and they crossed over. They went on ahead, as a friend of mine put it in a beautiful song. In this way, people even younger than I am have in a way become my ancestors, revealing the path ahead and continuing to be present, but in a different way. Some of them did not leave descendants behind in the form of biological children, yet the seeds of their wisdom and their witness continue to grow in me. And among all the many lessons my ancestors have taught me, perhaps this one is the most important, that I myself will become an ancestor someday. With that knowledge certain in my mind, I am guided to live with as much integrity and compassion as I can, knowing that I am here but for a very short time in the long line of relations that have come before me and that will come ever after. Thank you all so much for your presence today, and blessings to you all.
Let's take a few minutes of quiet to contemplate what we just heard. And our final song today is Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads, one of my favorites. Please stand as you are willing or able. Sure, yes, please.
A creature's life
Out of a community of diverse heritage and belief, we come together to share our hope and to create good in the world. The prophets of all traditions and times have taught us that we are called to mercy, generosity, and mutual care, and that to be great is to serve. We know that there can be no enduring happiness for humanity so long as suffering and want go unrelieved. Until all may be sheltered, none of us is truly at home. May the power of our various faiths sustain us in this work, that we may be the hands of holy creativity and justice, and together build a better world. Please stay for coffee and tea and lunch and our conversation about our name.